3 thank yous. Number 1 is my salvation, my foundation, and my Savior, Jesus Christ. Number 2 is my wife. I believe if it wasn't for her being here for 4 years ago, I probably wouldn't be here either. And number 3, I'm looking at you. And for all your support that you've given us for the 14 years that we've been in Boston. I'm just thankful. Shouldn't I be? I'm here. And just, I just want to preach. It's been now 6 months. It'll be next Wednesday. 6 months that I had my surgery. And when I say that I'm full of vinegar tonight, I literally am full of vinegar. I want to get out and preach the gospel. I really do. You're the second church that we've been at. And we're not going to stop. Next week, not this Friday, not this weekend, but next weekend we head to Halifax and go to a Muslim conference. Not with Muslims. This is just a conference for Muslims that they call it down there, and they're going to have missionaries from all over the world that are going to come. And so we'll be going that for the weekend. And then we get done there on the 21st, but we'll be in Rossay at True Life Church. We'll be speaking there. And then shortly after that, we leave there and we'll be right on the road. And we'll be heading down to Nebraska. 3 churches to speak there. And one of the reasons that we're going down there, because we go to Nebraska, and on the way back, we'll be stopping in Ontario, speak at some churches there, and go to the ABWE
board meeting
that we have. So that's our plan. That's a short plan that we have right now. And I wish I could tell you more. I really do. But just to say thank you for all your support. We will definitely keep you posted. We'll let you know what's going on. I hope we have been posting on a regular basis, and I pray that you've been getting our prayer letters because we want to keep you updated. But tonight, I just want to preach the Word of God. I really do. It's exciting day to live. You know, oh my goodness. To think, wow, this day right now, do you know how important it is? This day and age in which we live. Do you have any idea where we're at in the world? Do you have any idea, what's going on? What's happening? It's pretty exciting out there. And do you have any idea that you only have one life to live? You're not Hindu. You're not going to come back. You're a Christian. And you live right now for this day and age in which you live. Today is the day of salvation. And I just want to open up to the book of Daniel tonight and just to bring by a short message. Just a short message, chapter 12. And I'm going to touch a little bit on Islam. And do you know why I touch on Islam? Well, for one thing, for 14 years, that's what I ministered to, was Islam, Muslims. And some of them were my best friends. They really were. I'm not out to shoot down and to say that they're evil and they're all evil. But I am out to say the God that they serve is evil. He is evil. And there's one verse in the Bible that really catches my attention for this day and age in which we live. It's a pretty simple verse, and you've heard it many, many, many times by Apostle Paul. You ever heard this words before? Do not be ignorant of Satan's devices. You ever heard that before? Yeah, me too. And that applies for us right now in this day and age in which we live. If you come to me with Sarajevo, you would see mosques up all over the up on top of the hills. It's just amazing because every time I see them, it's amazing because that's where if you go into the Middle East and you hear that great big blare, minaret is called, and you'll look at the mosque and they're always up on a hill. It's almost like Satan is taking his mosque and trying to compare it to Jesus Christ's church. Because Jesus Christ's church is a lighthouse. And it should be out so that everybody can see it. And Muslim is doing the same thing. And is growing and growing and growing and growing. And why do I mention about Sarajevo? Did you ever hear tell of the Archduke Ferdinand in the First World War? That's where he was assassinated, in Sarajevo. And the reason I mentioned Archduke Ferdinand, because just as soon as Archduke Ferdinand, and it was called the bullet that was heard around the world, just as soon as he was assassinated in Sarajevo, it brought about the First World War, and it brought down what they called the Ottoman Empire, which was a great empire that day. And basically that was your last caliphate. That was it. And it was right there, happened to Sarajevo, that brought it down. That's what brought down the Turkish Empire, the Ottoman Empire. In 1928, Muslim Brotherhood started back up again in Egypt. But they never ever started a caliphate. The caliphate has started right now in our day and age in which you and I live. And you kind of wonder, wow, what a day and age to live. Do you not watch ISIS on the news? Who can you compare ISIS to? If you lived in the Second World War and watched Nazism and Hitler, ISIS makes Hitler and Nazism look like a little baby. I remember going through Bible school, and I'm telling you, I had so many, some great Bible teachers who would come in, and they would say, there's going to be a day that's going to come that this world leader and this world religion is going to come in and it's going to make Nazism look like a little baby. Well, I believe it's already here. I really do. I really do. And it's happening right into our back doorstep. Did you ever tell of civilization jihad? Civilization jihad basically is Muhammad taught them in the Quran, and it all started when he was in Mecca, and he was going to Medina because he didn't get enough followers in Mecca, so he goes to Medina, and then once he got a good little army behind him, he started calling it civilization jihad, which basically means that he would go into every town that's around him, and they would go in as their friends at first, then eventually once they become their friends, and once they get the power, they would crush them. And whoever didn't follow and submit to Islam, off come their head. Off come their head. And that's called civilization jihad. And it only took Islam 100 years to take over the Middle East. 100 years to take over the Middle East. You have the Crusades that come in the 10th and 11th century. And the reason you had the Crusades is because the Pope and the Catholic sent down Christians because they didn't want Islam to take over Europe. A big part of the crusade. And during that time, Islam tried to go and take over Europe, and the first time they did it, and they went to Spain. And they couldn't get any further, and they went back. Then again in the 16th century, they went and they tried to take over again Europe, and they get as far as Vienna. And they call it the Vienna Walls. And they failed there, and they went back. Guess what? Now you have the third time. And it's called civilization jihad. We are so caught up in certain politics of the news that you really don't know, and you probably didn't hear what's going on in the other part of the world. Did you know that in Germany last year took over 1 million refugees? Over 1 million. And this year, they're planning on doubling the refugees. You know why? that you have in Greece right now, and they closed the border to Macedonia so that no more missionaries can go up through Europe? It's because it's called civilization jihad. And they're having a chaos now in Europe because of the civilization and all the immigration and everything that's coming through. I had a call back in January, shortly after, I think middle of January, from one of my friends, one of the leaders that we helped in Bosnia. And he looked at me and talked to him on the telephone, whatever we call it.
Skype.
And he called me and he said, Brad, did you hear what was going to happen on Christmas Eve? I said, no, never heard a thing. And he said, well, ISIS is in Sarajevo, and they were planning on killing over 100 people. And the special police got a hold of it, and they put a stop to it. That's in Sarajevo. And they're planning these all over the place. Why am I saying that about here? It's because I see Islam growing here. I don't know if you heard about Fredericton, but Fredericton just took over 100 into a hotel just west of Fredericton. And they say they're going to put in close to 250. And you know what the amazing thing is? The person who owns the hotel, you probably don't know, is Muslim. The hotel that Beth and I are staying at right now in Fredericton, guess who it's owned by? Muslim. If you went up in Fredericton, you went up to Howard Johnson, and you went into that hotel, guess who it's owned by? Muslim. You go down through Lincoln, you see a little hotel there, guess what that's owned by? Muslim. This has been going on probably over the last 10 years that they've been doing this. And you know that the government has already brought 25,000 in. I don't know if anyone's come over here to the Miramichi or not. I have no idea. But now on the news yesterday, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but the Canadian government is hoping to bring 250,000 to 300,000 refugees in the next year. We just had a call from Bethany's sister last week, and she's saying there in Omaha that there was 5,000 refugees that come through, and she said that any state or big cities were now taking in close to 5,000 refugees, and basically in the States right now it's taking over 250 refugees. 250,000 refugees that you don't know about. That you don't know about. You know, I just... Again, it just, this is the day and age in which we live. This is it. I don't know if I don't think I told you this story, but my eyes were open close to 4 years ago, 3.5. 3.5 years ago, we were up in Hamilton, Ontario, doing an outreach with the church that supports us up there. There was 4 churches involved in this outreach. And sure enough, and we were doing part of the outreach, and we were going to go and have a meal with this Palestinian lady. Palestinian, she's from Palestine. Her husband's still over there. He works with PLO. Of course, he can't get into Canada. He works with the PLO. I hope they don't let him in. And so we were going to go over and have a meal with her, which is fine. I love having meals. She's not the first Muslim that I had a meal with. I had no problem at all. Let's skitter scatter. Let's get it. Let's have a meal with her. So we end up going over that night, and another couple, another young lady, and they were from the church, and we didn't know this, but the missionaries or the outreach the year before said something to her to win her to Christ, and apparently she got upset. She got upset with the church, and so we didn't know that. We had no idea. So we're sitting there, walked in, had a seat, and started drinking our coffee, and I think probably in a half an hour, 10 big men. I'm not big. I'm just a little small fellow. Okay, these men were big. From Somalia, from Egypt, from Palestine, from Egypt. Countries all over. All Muslim. And they come from Mississauga, one of the biggest Muslim centers in Canada. And apparently what she did, she phoned them, and they were going to come over and straighten us out. Yeah, they were. They were going to straighten us out. You see, the biggest problem with Muslims, they think we're weak. They really do. And I didn't argue at all with them. In 29 of my years, okay, you wouldn't say boo to me. Because if you did, I'd hate you. And sure enough, I would probably fight with you. But I am a changed person. And you know, truthfully, I don't like to fight. I don't like to fight. And so when I didn't argue back, and I didn't fight back with them, they look at me as a weakling. And they don't understand my God. You see, in Islam, and if you go through the Quran, which is the same size as the New Testament, you'll find that word terror. Terror, terror, terror. And that's what Muhammad breeds into his soldiers and the people who want to follow Islam. Terrorize, put terror in the heart. That's what he does. And that's what he tells his people to do. And the thing is, their God terrorizes. My God has peace. See the opposite? See the difference in the two of them? And for 2 hours, they interrogated me and my wife, my beautiful wife. And I'm sitting there looking at these 10 men, and I'm looking at there, because I had a grandpa who fought in the First World War in Vinnie Ridge, and he'd always used to show me growing up his bullet wound that he'd had that went through him. I had a dad that went through the Korean War. I had 3 uncles who went through the Second World War. Some of them stormed Normandy. And I'm looking at these 10 men, and I'm thinking, where's our country? Where's our country? Is Satan stealing it from us? Is he pulling the rug right from underneath us? And are we handing it to him in a golden plate? Are we? This is Canada. And I'm also talking about the States. These nations were born on Christianity. Born on Christianity. I was listening to Benjamin, and we were talking about getting our white card or our cards and our visa from Canada and our states and going across the border. And boy, it's one hard job. One hard job. And Bethany's mom just come over with us a year ago. And we left from Bosnia. And we drove from Bosnia to Split in Croatia. We jumped on a little boat and went over across to Italy. We went up to cross some lands and finally went to Geneva and to Switzerland. And we were going up through Austria because one of her goals, Bethany's mom, was to see the hills are alive with the sound of music. She always wanted to see that. So we took her there. And we went through Austria and eventually went up to Poland and seen the Jewish camp through Nazism up there. Then we finally drove down through Hungary and Czechoslovakia and Slovakia and finally back to Croatia and then back to Bosnia. And you know something? I had my Canadian passport. They had their American passport. And there wasn't a border there. There wasn't a border. Now, if you would have went there in the Balkans 30 years ago, you would have to take out your passport, and it was almost like Nazi soldiers in the communist empire. And you couldn't jump from border to border to border to country to country to country. We have the freedom there now in the Balkans. And the sad part is, we leave there, we come back here, and we don't have the freedom. Not the same anymore. My grandpa's from Calais. My Grammy was from St. Stephen. There was no border. They could travel, freedom. Now you go to the border here, and it's the longest border in the world, and I can almost guarantee it when you go in, you'll see some soldiers, or not soldiers, but you see the border guards, and they're almost like the Nazis were back in the 40s. Because of our freedom. is being taken from us. And confusion. I don't know about you, but I am not going to give up on my God. I am going to serve him every day until he finally takes my last breath. And then finally I can go home to be with him. But right now I want to serve him. I don't know where we're going to go. I have no idea. All we have is just a couple suitcases. But we just want to travel. And we want to preach about our Savior, Jesus Christ. Do you remember what it was like 30, 40 years ago? When you go into the schools, you couldn't tell the children the Word of God. Now you go down to the States, and there's certain places down there you go, and the school, only thing they teach us is Quran. Not the Bible no more. Why am I saying that? Listen to what Daniel says. And at that time shall Michael stand up, that great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to the same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that should be found written in the book. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some unto everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. And here it is. Here's where I want to touch. Right here. Just 5 words. And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even until the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased.